For every 1% differential between what they are paying men and women for equal work, there will be a fine of 1% of their previous year's profits. That'll get their attention. That'll get their attention.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. What has happened to CNN, guys? What has happened to CNN? Because over the past few days, well, really 24 hours to be quite honest with you, they have actually had some decent coverage of Kamala Harris, okay? They've been calling out Kamala Harris over the fact that her plan is maybe too far left for them, okay? Her economic plan, which is kind of hard to believe, okay? And they've also started to look into Tim Walz's background, and they found more dirt on him, okay? They investigated him, and they found out that not only did he lie about his military service in the sense that he embellished his rank that he retired with, and also he strongly implied that he carried weapons of war into war, even though he never went into war. He also lied about his DUI arrest back in 1995, okay? He just lied about the whole thing.
Fast forward to 2006, he's in a tight congressional race. He is running for Congress. This was a Republican-held district that he was trying to flip, and then a local Republican blog puts up that he had this arrest for drunk driving. Now, I'm going to give you sort of the bullets of what his campaign said about that. The campaign setting Walz claimed that he had not been drinking and driving. They attributed his failed field sobriety test to hearing loss from his time in the National Guard, not alcohol. The campaign falsely said that he drove himself to the station, that he was allowed to drive home. They said the DUI charges were dropped because they were unfounded, and the campaign even faulted this trooper for saying that he didn't realize that Walz had hearing impairment. They claimed a judge actually chastised the state trooper for it. Now take a look at just one statement that his campaign put out. They said he, quote, couldn't understand what the trooper was telling him during the field sobriety test, and the trooper refused to speak up. The DUI charges were dropped for a reason. The judge would not have dismissed them if there were anything to him. Tim drove to the station that night and drove home afterwards. I don't think the trooper would have allowed that if there had been a problem. So none of what they said in that 2006 race was true at all, as we saw in just looking at those details of the 1995 arrest.
But the DUI story is indefensible. Casey, you and I know a thing or two about congressional campaigns. They're very small. They're very tight. There's usually like a paid campaign manager and a paid spokesperson, and that's it. So the idea that this came from his spokesperson and it didn't come from him, I don't buy it. And the idea that he tried to lay it off on a hearing disability from the National Guard service through the spokesperson while denying things that the K-file investigation proved to be inaccurate, I think is a real issue for him. In the end, it's going to be about the top of the ticket. But to me, the DUI is bigger than the stolen valor allegation, not because of the drinking, but because of the lie.
How do you think the Harris campaign should be dealing with this right now?
Full on. And it makes me wonder whether in the vetting process, maybe this is as a result of the expedited nature of her ascendancy as the candidate. But it makes me wonder how much they really knew about it. I'm sure they knew of the DWI, but it makes me wonder whether they were aware of all the underlying facts to the extent that the K-file is.
Yeah, so I can't lie to you guys. It's pretty strange seeing CNN fact-check Tim Walz, fact-check the Democrats actually doing their jobs, exposing Tim Walz as a liar. Now, I'm not entirely sure why Mr. Michael Smerconish believes that the stolen valor accusations aren't as big of a deal as lying about his DUI charge or arrest. I'm not entirely sure why, because both represent the same pattern of behavior from Tim Walz that I was concerned about from day one, which is that, again, this guy is a massive liar, okay? This guy not only lied about his rank, okay, he said he achieved a rank that he actually did not achieve at retirement, and he also lied about going into war as well, too, and now he lied about his DUI arrest. Now, here's the thing. When you have a pattern like this, this to me suggests that this guy just lies about everything, which is why I don't really understand why Michael Smerconish would say that, well, he just misspoke, okay, or that he spoke sloppily when it comes to the stolen valor stuff, because no. You don't just continue to speak sloppily all the time when it comes to things that this man should have knew were very, very, very sensitive. Like, for example, your rank, okay, the rank that you retired at, okay, whether or not you've been to war. These aren't things that you speak sloppily about. Just like you don't speak sloppily about the details of your DUI arrest, okay? This dude is just lying. He's a flat out liar. He's a serial liar. And that is what people should be calling Tim Walz, a serial liar. That's what he is, okay? He might be a psychopath when it comes to lying, okay? He might not be able to help himself. I've always felt weird about the guy. He's always rubbed me the wrong way. I feel like he's the type of dude that I would not feel comfortable leaving alone at a playground. Okay, I'm just saying. I'm just keeping it all the way 100 with you about how I feel about this guy. But again, this stuff continues to come out, okay, showing this guy's a liar. Now you have Kamala Harris going full-blown commie, okay, with her new economic policy proposal that I think kind of is what initially triggered CNN into doing their job. Is at the point now where they're admitting that, hey, this honeymoon period for Kamala Harris is probably over, okay? She cannot continue to hide from the media. She's going to get exposed at some point, and that is going to be a problem. This is what they're saying on CNN.
Of course, whether the Harris hurricane lasts is another thing. Kamala Harris is not indestructible. She has served as an undistinguished, nearly invisible vice president. There appears no accomplishment she can point to for her most important responsibility, addressing the origin of the border crisis. Second, she picked a nice guy from Minnesota in Tim Walz, but he might turn out to have as many warts as J.D. Vance. And I don't mean the allegation of stolen valor. He spoke sloppily in that instance, but I don't think there's much there. But the CNN K-File report of his congressional campaign deceit over his DWI is a real and embarrassing issue. As usual, the cover-up was worse than the crime. It's still too soon to know how much she might regret not picking Josh Shapiro. And third, thus far, Harris has had a free ride. She's not given any media interviews, hasn't faced voter questioning. When asked recently, she said that she would give an interview by the end of the month. She said that on August the 8th. No doubt she wants more time on the clock to prepare answers as to why she's flipped on health care, fracking, weed, and the death penalty, to name just a few. Sooner or later, she's going to be held accountable and face pressure that she has thus far largely avoided. Just yesterday, her first substantive economic policy proposal, it received mixed reviews. Bernie Sanders loved it. He called her idea a strong progressive agenda, but the Washington Post said that her proposals were gimmicks. CNN's analysis said that her plan could create more problems than it solves. You'd think that she'll enjoy another week of positive coverage amidst the DNC, which will feature 3 Democratic presidents, but with passions inflamed about Israel and Gaza, there is an air of unpredictability as to what will happen in Chicago. As I like to say, still to come, events we could never foresee and individuals whose names that today we don't even know.
Yeah, so I think that the honeymoon period is almost about over, okay, because it seems as if at least some portions of the media have turned on Kamala Harris, especially, again, when it comes to his economic proposal, okay? This price gouging thing where she's basically trying to go full Soviet Union by setting prices, okay, that are determined by the government. Yeah, a lot of people are not feeling that, okay? And she's receiving a whole lot of criticism for it. However, meanwhile, on MSNBC, they are pushing the lie, the big lie, that, these corporations, that grocery stores are price gouging people, and that this economic plan is great, right? It's amazing.
Vice President Kamala Harris is set to release her first major economic plan as a presidential candidate later today in North Carolina. It will include, we're told, proposing a federal ban on corporate price gouging for food and groceries. Earlier this year, our next guest, Democratic Senator Bob Casey of Pennsylvania, introduced the Price Gouging Prevention Act, which promises to crack down on corporate price gouging and protect American families from so-called greedflation. And Senator Casey joins us now. He's a member of the Senate Senate Finance and Intelligence Committees and currently running for re-election in a race that could determine the balance of power in the Senate. Senator, good morning. It's great to have you with us. So let's start with this idea of price gouging. A lot of economists, not just conservative ones, but even more moderate and some liberal ones, believe that the margins are so thin at a grocery store that they're not gouging prices, that they're just trying to keep up with supply and demand. What do you say to that?
Well, Willie, here are the facts in terms of corporate America. This is what we're talking about here. The big companies, the companies that are producing food and the companies that are manufacturing household items, that's where the price gouging has taken place. Look, between July of 20 and July of 22, corporate profits rose 75% in America. That's 5 times the rate of inflation. And we shouldn't just accept it and say there's nothing we can do about it. We should point it out, as I've done in a greedflation report, a shrinkflation report, recently a streamflation report, streaming services doing this as well, the junk fees that the administration has worked on. So on a whole range of fronts, you've got corporate America, after getting the biggest corporate tax cut anyone can remember, jacking up their prices and just saying get used to it and bragging about it on shareholder calls. So we got to do 3 things. Go after them, and you use price gouging legislation to do that, and to give the Federal Trade Commission power it does not have right now. And secondly, to roll back those big corporate tax breaks, because obviously they didn't need them. But I think the idea that we should just throw up our hands and say, well, that's capitalism is ridiculous. You've got, look, if a company has costs here and they offset it with prices, no one would dispute that or argue with that. But when they jack up their prices, hiding behind inflation or hiding behind the idea of the pandemic causing this, their supply chains, it's a lot of BS. We should go after them and investigate them. If they're not price gouging, they got nothing to worry about.
Yeah, but see, they're not, okay? And this dude didn't provide any real evidence that the companies are price gouging, as he says, okay? What they're trying to do, what Democrats are trying to do, is to distract from the fact that their giant spending bills, okay, whether that be the Inflation Reduction Act or the American Rescue Plan, the American Disaster Plan, really. Yeah, those trillions of dollars that were put into the economy by the Democrats, the lockdowns, all these things, that is what contributed to inflation the most. And in order to distract from that, they want to try to blame everybody else, okay, including some of these grocery stores whose margins are so thin. It's like, bruh, it doesn't even make sense to say that they're price gouging with 1% to 2% margins. But even if they were, right, as a result of monopolistic behavior, because that's the only way they will be able to get away with price gouging, you literally would have to have all of these companies collude, okay, become essentially a monopoly, and to all agree, hey, let's jack up the prices. That wouldn't be a job for Kamala Harris to solve, okay? That actually be a job of the Federal Trade Commission, right? That is their job, okay? And they have sued companies who they accuse of being monopolies, right? They have done that, okay? So we already have a system in place to handle this stuff. But once again, we have the Democrats trying to take advantage of people that they think are ignorant, right? This is what Democrats do. I don't understand why voters are not more offended by how Democrats try to appeal to them, okay? They try to appeal to voters in a way that I think is just very offensive. They really do believe that you are stupid. They believe that you are economically illiterate. And hey, listen, here's the thing. For a significant portion of the country, they're probably right, okay? I'm just saying, because some people do agree with this stuff. They sign up for this type of government intervention and far left communist economic policies that have never worked. Yeah, there's some people that actually really do believe in it, but I think a vast majority of Americans don't. And I think that personally, Democrats believing that they can come out here and just pitch this nonsense, right? Especially the idea that, hey, you know, we'll solve inflation by spending more money, right? Spending more money and setting prices, okay? This is what they believe. And it's like, bruh, this is not going to fix the economy. That's actually going to make the problem a lot worse. If you're voting for Kamala Harris, you're quite literally voting to make the problem worse. It's just crazy to me that, again, it's so bad that even CNN is calling it out and saying, yeah, this is not good, right? This is not good economic policy. But yet you still have MSNBC, okay, still carrying water for Kamala Harris, still covering up for her terrible policies, which tells you everything you need to know about MSNBC, okay? They don't even care at all about their integrity, about their credibility, okay? CNN pretends like they care, but apparently MSNBC, they don't care at all, okay? They will get behind some lunatic economic plan just to defend Kamala Harris because they hate Trump so much. And it really is a damn shame, right? It really is the state of journalism in America today. But let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.